Well, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Oh, shit. My microphone almost fell over. God damn it. Can't seem to get that thing right. What's up, my friends? You know, I should have made this video earlier when I was in my, most functional mind, when I was thinking about a lot of things. I just couldn't do it. And I'm going to be brutally honest. My mentality over this whole event has completely changed. And I made a video a day ago. I decided not to upload it because I remember the night before I had a couple drinks and I was talking all this shit about politics and the government. I really want to avoid that. I don't want to make this partisan or political. You know, I even had a conversation with a friend the other day and I told him, hey, watch out, hope you're being safe. And he went on this big rant about Democrats. I was just like, facepalm. Like, look, everything that happens in the world gets made political, but it's not necessary that we make it political. But this is a faceless enemy, this virus, if you will. I'll tell you, one of the most frustrating things is that I've been wanting to cover this, and my camera that I'm using right now is my old Panasonic Lumix G3, total piece of shit. The screen doesn't work on it, I can never tell if it's filming right, and I thought, here I am, the biggest event of my life, and I can't even go out and film it or document it because I don't have a decent camera. So I went on Craigslist and started looking, and I found one that's reasonable for like $100, a GH2. I want a GH5, but I'm not going to go into the details on that because I'm here to talk about the virus, but I don't want to turn this into some kind of a channel about nothing but the apocalypse of the virus. This will pass and we will recover. But in the meantime, I need to talk about a few things. There are 1.5 billion people or more at home right now. They're just stuck at home and don't know what to do. Millions of kids who can't go to school, people who can't go to work, families who are stuck in groups. I know I've got 2 young kids who I have to teach. They're 7 and 10, 1st and 5th grade. We have to teach them each day and try to have a routine. My wife's been making a big effort to, try to make an itinerary. We got some books and then we got them online. Fortunately, we have the computers, which is, a great thing to use at this time. But even with all the people on lockdown, like I live in the suburbs, and as you know, I made a video. If you're a subscriber, I made a video the other day where I went up to Mount Hood, Mount St. Helens, and then I actually went up to Mount Rainier. We didn't make it all the way. The park's closed, but we go to kind of primitive camping or private camping. And I've talked to people who are like, oh, I'm staying at home. Even my brother was like, didn't want to go camping. He was trying to lecture me on going out camping because, he's like, well, we need to stay at home. And I thought, I get that. But if you're not talking to anyone, I get my gas here in town. I drive a half an hour, 45 to an hour away, and I'm in a good camping spot. Even stopping at one gas station isn't a big deal. What I do want to say is people should not be traveling to small towns. People should not be going out to places where there's an elderly community, visiting grandmas, things like that. And, this is an interesting time because people cannot deal with change very well. It's becoming very obvious. Strong borders. Trump tweeted something about strong borders the other day. Sorry, I do not mean to mention Trump. I was going to make an effort to not mention Trump in this video, and I won't again. But he was talking about, we need stronger borders in all capitals. And I thought, whoa, how's that going to stop a virus? And I started thinking about the way that we've always dealt with things. And I thought, the U.S. military, we've built it up so strong over the, Over all this time, we've built drones, we've created aircraft carriers, the best missiles, the best weapons, best warheads, best airplanes. And you can't fight a virus with any of them. Our biggest enemy that we've ever faced in this country, or the world, cannot be fought with conventional weaponry. It's very similar to the way that we realized that machine guns can't always win a war, so we had to move to drones. Well, now we have to move to more precise attacks. Virology, figuring out how to fight these bacteria and viral infections that can kill us off in an instant. And it's pathetic how prepared we are. This country is completely ill-prepared. And no, I'm not blaming Trump for this completely. I'm not blaming Republicans or Democrats. I think they both suck, okay? I'm not going to go into politics. I want to just say that I think that we need to realize that our priorities are backwards. Capitalism is all about making the money, and we've always loved that. But you can't beat that guy and have a better deal with that guy if that guy doesn't have a face or a mind, if it's a virus, right? So denial is something that we all have loved in America. Denial is something we have until it's too late. And it's too late now for testing. I want you to know something. I'm not going to go into too many of the numbers, but South Korea had the same amount of cases as the United States at one point. The very first day, January 21st, where they had one case known and we had one case known. And at that point, we hit two completely different directions. South Korea went into full preparation mode, and they give testing to everybody. Up to 10 to 15,000 a day. Meanwhile, in the whole first month, we gave less than 4,000 tests. And I don't want to blame America or our competence of our government, but who else do you blame? When you pay 25 to 30% of your taxes into the government and expect them to protect you, and when you're one of those people who goes gung-ho about having a great military, how can you still defend the incompetence of this government when you realize that they can't protect you against a little tiny invader that the rest of the world has been able to deal with? At least South Korea was. Now, I'm not here to compare, but there's a lot of conflicting information, a lot of conflicting numbers on cases. We don't know what's going on in China, Korea, Italy, and Spain. We can see what's happening. They're having some horrible events. 700 people per day dying on average in Italy, and then in Spain it's getting up to about the same pretty soon here. And there is no trust in expertise. This is America anyway. We have become we have such a distrust in science. Nobody believes in evolution. Nobody wants to believe that anything's real. Therefore, here we are stuck with this reality that's hitting us in the face, and we're saying, no, it's not real, it's not real, it's not real. And people are finally changing their minds to say, well, it's real, but it was created by this government or that government. Let me tell you something. If you're one of those people, I'm not dissing you or here to berate you about this, but it's irrelevant. If you can admit that the virus is real, let's, for a moment, set aside why it's happening or who created it and say, how can we all best avoid it? Because I have the numbers over here and they're not pretty. And I'm going to get to that. Here's where it gets disgusting. The Democrats and the Republicans in this country can't agree on a bailout. What happened was, and my friend and I had a kind of a text war, if you will, for a little while about this. We're good friends. We can debate back and forth, and it's no big deal. We don't hold it personal. He was saying that, Pelosi was holding up this thing, and Democrats were holding up this bill. So of course I had to look into it, and he sent me this quote from this senator from Arkansas, Tom Cotton, who had tweeted all this thing. He's one of the guys that said, go out to restaurants, go out and enjoy yourself, just ignore the world. and what everybody else is telling you and every expert, and just get the virus, basically. This is where it gets disgusting. This country, my country, the United States of America, we have no trust and expertise anymore. We only trust what we're being told on Twitter, what we're being told by our officials, and our leaders have completely failed us, but we're not willing to admit it. So there's no trust and expertise, but also we can't agree on who deserves to get bailed out on this, if anyone. Now, for the average person, you as a taxpayer, whatever country you live in, what do you expect to get if your country falls apart? Should you get bailed out? Should you get helped? They want to save the corporations. I understand that. I'm not sitting here saying we should never save a corporation. What I am saying is that this came straight from the mouth of babes, right? From the government, the White House itself. We need to help Boeing. Now, if you're not aware of what's going on with Boeing, they've had issues with their airlines over the past couple of years. It has nothing, let me tell you this. Boeing's financial issues have nothing to do with the virus. But that's what they're focusing on, helping bail out Boeing in the airline industry. And let me tell you, the airline industry will do just fine when people start flying again. Who else is it? The cruise lines. Now, I'm not the only one saying this, but you want to bail out the cruise lines? These are people who hire only 5% of American citizens. Most of them are immigrants or people who are working for very cheap wages, and then they have a petri dish floating on the ocean. They're able to evade taxes and laws because they're out on the open sea. And then they all of a sudden can't get these tourists, which is just rich people or people who have extra money. They can't make their money, so they want a bailout, and we're willing to give it to them. It's disgusting. I don't believe in bailing out the cruise industry. They haven't done anything to help society, right? So I may be wrong. If any one of you can name something the cruise industry has done to help society, or you personally, please let me know. No, we should not be bailing them out. And the final one is the airlines and the hotel industry. I mean, it's the hotels. People will still stay in hotels. You know, maybe I'm spending too much time on this thing, but I've got a lot to talk about. You know, it's all about the markets. And when they said, I should say no, when Trump said he wants everything open by Easter, which you can look, he said it. He wants this country rearing to go by Easter. Well, what he's basically saying is, I am trying to cater to you evangelical Christians and tell you that we're going to celebrate on your favorite holiday, right? Or maybe second favorite holiday. But it's obviously pandering. I'm not going to be partisan here, but if you can't see that that's pandering, you are completely suckered. The fact that you want to open it on Easter shows that it's a way of saying, I'm going to win this election even if people die. And that's what our government is saying and has been saying. Old people need to die so the economy can survive. That's what they've been fucking saying. It's pathetic. And this all also comes back to the old, it's just a flu crowd, which I'll get to because I got the numbers that I wrote down for what it's worth, and I'd like to share that at the end of this. But, you know, all of the weaknesses of our country, my country, have been revealed. Things I've always known, but people just don't want to believe. We can't make our own masks. We can't make our own drugs. We have a short supply of all the things we need because we don't do it ourselves. So isn't being an independent country part of that being independent? You know, if we want to be oil independent and energy independent, which is a completely different story because the oil industry and the gas industry, barrels have dropped down to nothing. Prices have dropped to nothing. But have you seen that at the gas pump? No, because the U.S. government has been begging Russia and Saudi Arabia to keep their prices high artificially in order to keep you paying more at the pump. And many Americans say, yeah, it's for America. It's not for America if you are the one who's paying higher taxes for no reason. If nobody's using gasoline, tough shit for Exxon. That's the way I feel about it. But I'm sorry, I feel very passionate about this, but sure, my thought is this. You want to talk about opening on Easter? If all the churches want to open up on Easter, and all the people, and all of these evangelicals want to congregate in their churches, feel free. Really. I have no qualms about that. I figure if you're that stubborn to not listen to the experts, this is Darwin's law in action. Maybe people will start to listen when they realize that God in their church cannot stop a virus, but staying at home and being rational can. And I'm not saying I have an issue with religion, but I have an issue with religion when it comes at the cost of the health of the people. And many of these governors and senators want to cater to their religious population. And that's bullshit. It's not about the religion or what you believe. It's about believing these senators who are just pandering to your bullshit with their bullshit. We deserve better from our government. We deserve better from the CDC. We deserve to make our own drugs. And on the side, we have fraudsters, scammers, people selling you fake-ass, drugs that are supposed to cure you from all viruses. We've got people selling masks for a high price. We have a bidding war going on between states right now in this country to get masks and goggles for health workers. Seriously, a bidding war. That's capitalism for you. You see when it can really fuck you over? It's funny because I bought a dozen goggles for the Standing Rock tribe. I mentioned this before. And I looked at it, it was like 4 years ago or 3 years ago. I couldn't believe it. But they're just these pretty standard, vented goggles. And I thought, what can I do with these now that because the tribe had gone back in and the winter came by the time we got them. I thought, well, I'll keep them for a day. I do construction. Anyhow, I thought, now I found out doctors are begging to find these goggles, and I thought maybe I can wait till shit gets really bad, go down to my local hospital and give them to the doctors. Be like, find somebody who can actually use them. It's so sad that people don't get what they need, but I wanted to mention this because these are the same things that they throw away after a patient. I think, if you're going to dispose of these things, be a little more efficient. And so they are. They're reusing the N95 masks for up to 5 patients in some places. And it has become horrible out there because a lot of people are hoarding these things, and it's ridiculous. But here's one positive thing I want to mention, and I know I'm cramming a lot of ideas into this one long video, but a lot of thoughts into it. The UN asked to pause wars. I found that phenomenally interesting. Pause all wars and conflicts, and I thought, could something actually come of this that's good? This is going to create a lot of changes in the world. Changes in the way we deal with work, friends, hygiene. The fact that a lot of parents, if you're like me, a lot of the, I mentioned that my brother, was talking about not going camping, just staying at home. And I mentioned to him that it's different when you have 5 people in a household, right? I've got 2 young kids and one 25-year-old, and I thought we need to get out and go camping and do stuff. Well, the angle of teaching your kids at home, I have a good friend, Tim, who lives in Portland, and he has kids about the same age as mine, a daughter and a son. And I've got 2 sons, and when they drive him nuts because he has to work at home. He works for the state. And if you're out there, Tim, much love, man. You're a man to deal with that kind of shit. And living in an apartment, it's very difficult. I can't imagine. I know it's hard for me to live with my kids and deal with this whole incident and teach my kids and try to keep working. And my wife's out of work and we're trying to keep entertained. There's a lot going on out there, people. But of all the enemies we've had, nuclear war, or fear of Armageddon, oil wars, technology disasters, or terrorism, this is the first incident we've all faced together. And it's faceless. Nobody can point the finger. It's a virus. You can't complain. You can't throw nukes at it. Patoo, patoo, patoo. You can't throw, any grenades at it or send out a drone or an attack from a satellite. You can't observe it or watch it or see what it's doing. You just got to hope the experts know what they're talking about. And the epidemiologists and the virologists, they're being completely ignored. I mean, not completely. No, Dr. Fauci is phenomenal. People love the guy. But you notice he's been kind of omitted from the conversations lately. Well, the guy knows what he's talking about. The shit's going to get worse before it gets better, and we all know this. There's a lot of changes we all need to make. We need all hands on deck. We need to cooperate. Like I said about Trump wanting to go back early on Easter, going back, the experts that I've listened to say that going back early, going back to business as usual, could completely devastate our economy and our people. Not kill everyone, but the fact that going back early might save a few dollars for a few businesses is nothing compared to the fact that it could cause a second wave, which would cause people to panic even more, and we'd lose more money and lose more people. And meanwhile, it would take longer to recover, if that makes sense. Let me give you an example of where the fuck we're at, people. If you break your leg and you sit at home and you heal, maybe you need a little therapy, but generally you just wait to heal. You'll heal and you'll be fine and you'll get back to your business as usual. If your leg breaks and you're a stubborn son of a bitch and you go out and you decide to go skateboarding with your friends, you might re-break your leg. This is where we're at right now. You either let the wound heal or you keep re-breaking your leg. And America is so fucking stubborn that we cannot realize that. It's so frustrating. And the elderly will suffer. I have an old mother. My wife has an old mother. We have a lot of relatives and friends that know people who are sick and could be sick or might be compromised with immune systems. Young people who have asthma or lung issues. A lot of people just write this off as something that, well, no big deal. It is a big deal. Going back early could not just destroy our economy, but destroy our people. Kill a lot of people. And the question comes down to this. Who do you trust? Do you trust Sean Hannity spewing complete fucking dog shit on Fox News? Or do you listen to the left-wing media spewing complete dog shit, completely complaining about Trump every 5 minutes instead of actually dealing with the issues? They can't help it. Media is biased because the fairness doctrine was eliminated in the 1980s. But we can look past that. Look past media, mainstream, look past alternative media, and go straight to the fucking facts. Look at the statistics. Some people say, oh, how do you know what to believe and who to believe? Look at it, people. Look it up. Use Google. Don't play dumb. You know how to look up facts and figures and graphs. Don't pretend that they're all faked. These are real figures. And this shit's really happening. So who do you trust? Well, I trust Dr. Fauci. I trust a lot of the epidemiologists who have studied this. And we can't pretend that it's not real. And it doesn't matter who it is, where you came from, or who you are. Somebody mentioned left a comment on a video the other day. And it says, life is change. How it differs from the rocks. And it's been stuck in my head for a couple days. It's a song called Crown of Creation by Jefferson Airplane, which was based on actually an older book. And it was a kind of a dystopian novel. I haven't read it, but about a future where, kind of a future that could have taken place in the 20th century. Kind of eugenics, where anybody who's born with a deformity is considered ungodly. Kind of a pseudo-Christianity, if you will. And somebody says in there, life is change. How it differs from the rocks in a very similar way. But my thought was, rocks change too. It's just too slow for us to understand. We don't understand change. We want things to remain the same, but when they do happen, we get shocked by it. We can't handle that fact. So, I don't believe in corporate welfare. A comment I heard earlier, or read earlier on a YouTube video, it was perfect. I wrote it down. It said, losses are socialized. Profits are privatized. And I know I don't have to explain that to most of you, but perhaps a few of you need a repeat of that. Losses are socialized, meaning that anything that happens in our society that fucks up the society or the money of, the income or our way of life, all of that is all of a sudden, we all have to pay for that through our taxes. But as soon as there's extra money made on something, that has to go to the corporations. And it's not just the corporations and the politicians who say that and the lobbyists. It's individual Americans. I have talked to some poor-ass Americans who really believe in the trickle-down economy. Please don't tell me you're one of them. Please don't tell me that you think that the money that the government is going to hand out should go mostly to the corporations because they need a handout. Because I don't believe the cruise lines really add anything to society. I believe that the airlines will survive and the hotels will survive just fine once people start going back and using them, right? I'm losing money in my business. My wife's losing money. Everybody's losing money. Do you think a stupid fucking $1,200 check from the administration or Congress is going to help that? You know how long we're going to be out of work for this? We have lost a lot of potential. I don't expect a handout, but I definitely don't think the corporations should expect a handout either. What they say, there's the reason why they denied this bill that was supposed to go through, why the Democrats fought against it, this $2.2 trillion bill, is because it started below $1 trillion. It was supposed to just help the people. But all the lobbyists and the leeches jumped in and said, we need money for Boeing, we need money for this and that. Everybody who wanted a handout got in there. It's socialism for the rich. And the reason why they blocked it was because they wanted conditions that said you cannot buy back your own stocks, and you cannot use this to give bonuses to your officials and your main people. And that's exactly what they do. Most companies spend most of their money and profits buying back their own stocks, and therefore they don't have any extra money to spend. They're dumb. The corporate welfare, corporate America has failed. It's been failing for a long time, and people just don't realize that. It's socialism for the rich, and what can I get for myself? And it's pathetic. It really is. It really is. It's a healthcare reality check. I mean, we're a war-based country, not a health-based country. We haven't dealt with something like this in a long time. And the way I see it, and I'll tell you, I'm alone on this, because most of my friends totally disagree with me. I say let Wall Street fail, let the banks fail, let the corporations fail. A lot of people say, dude, you're an idiot. That's how, we make all our money in America. I say, you're missing the fucking point. What, as a human, do you need to survive? How long can we keep this facade up? This idea that it's just more and more. And I know I sound like some kind of utopian idealist, and maybe I am. But that's how I truly feel. I'm not in the full-blown Bernie socialized medicine, give free shit to everybody. I am in it for deal with your own shit, take care of your community. But taking care of your community has laws against, you can only do this. The bureaucracy has become so complicated that I just say fuck Wall Street. Let it collapse. I could care less. I can't help it. I feel secretly inside like I want to see capitalism fail. Not so we can get to communism or socialism. There is a compromise. Being fucking human. Using your heart and your mind. I don't know what else to call it. You know, people want to define everything, but that's just how I feel about it. It's not about any one person or group, but it's also about recognizing the powers and the benefits of the individual. You know, Italy was having one death every 2 minutes yesterday. I told you I was going to read the numbers, and I'm going to here. There's 6,000 hospitals in the United States. This is average. 1 million beds available. Now, there were 13 deaths today in one hospital in New York, right, from COVID-19. In the United States as a whole, 200 people died today. This is just what's recorded, so I'm just going to give you an idea by the time I'm done with this. 200 people died in one day today, reported, from COVID. 800 total over the past couple months. In other words, 25% of the people who have died total died just in the last 24 hours. You're not allowed to visit anyone who has the virus. Therefore, there are no visitation rights. There are 2,800 people hospitalized for it in New York City alone right now. And none of their relatives can see them. If you look at what's happening in Italy, people are just crying because they can't even see their loved ones, and they get buried or cremated without even being able to see them. Just like in China. I'm not trying to scare you. I'm trying to give you a reality check that the shit's real and we need to stand together and be rational about it. There are 1,800 in intensive care. Oh wait, there are 1,800 intensive care wards in New York City. And I'm just talking about New York right here. They'll be full by Friday, they say. 2 days. So, total in the world, okay, there's only 470,000 cases. Doesn't sound like much. And 21,000 deaths? That doesn't sound like much either. Compared to flu, that's nothing. That's what everybody says. There's 198 countries who are infected right now, but still that's a low number. Okay, so, as I said, South Korea had their same case on the first day, and they managed to actually ease the curve by all their testing. Well, a lot of people want to compare this to the flu, so I had to take the numbers. The flu, on average in a year, there are 1,000 deaths per day worldwide of the flu, which comes out to 1 in 7.5 million people. So 1 out of every 7 million people or so dies each day from the flu, right? In Italy, 700 people died in one day the other day. They have a population of 60 million people. That means that 1 in 100,000 people died in one day. In the world, there are 7.5 billion people. If you divide that by the $100,000, it means that if everyone was operating like Italy, if every country had the same amount of infections, the average would be 75,000 deaths per day. And as I said before, there are only 1,000 deaths per day from flu. We're talking about 75 times more deaths per day. Now these are just numbers I came up with. Nobody really knows. Not even the experts know. The epidemiologists are still wondering exactly what the R rate is. How many do we spread to? How fast does it spread? How bad is it? People my age are dying from this. So, you know, I'm taking it seriously. The states have been bidding on supplies. Doctors and hospitals have had to bid on masks. I mean, what kind of... When capitalism works to that extent, there's something really wrong with the system in place.